Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Earwax. It's Colin, and today we're going to be going over the brand new album from Pittsburgh-based indie psych pop electronic band Black Moth Super Rainbow, Soft New Magic Dream. So this is the 8th full-length LP from Black Moth Super Rainbow, who, if you're not familiar with, I think a lot more people are probably more familiar with the main band member's other project, Tobacco. That's the moniker he uses for like his solo stuff. And I do believe that the majority of the music from Black Moth Super Rainbow is still written by him, but he does perform with like a full band, and a lot of the members have been there so long and do contribute a little bit here and there in the studio. They are an interesting project. They're definitely someone that like you either really like or you're just don't get or like are just not a fan of. And I know this because of the multitude of people I've tried to get into this project. I think that like there's a certain type of person that really connects with this type of music. They're very heavily leaning on the psychedelic spectrum. And yeah, I mean, you are either kind of into them or not. And I personally love them. Their fourth album, Dandelion Gum, is one of my all-time favorite albums. Like, I listen to it front to back. It is just absolutely incredible. Their sixth album, Cobra Juicy, is one of my all-time favorites as well. And I did really enjoy their last album of Panic Blooms. I actually got to see them on that tour. It's my first time ever seeing them live. And wow, what a just incredible show. Definitely one to, maybe not be 100% sober at, or you can be like, the music's incredible sober, even if that's your thing. But yeah, just one of my all-time favorite bands in this kind of space, and was super excited to hear that this album was coming out. They've been quiet for a few years now. Panic Blooms came out in 2018, so it's definitely been a minute since we've gotten any new material from them. And I'm happy to say that this album, I think, just was a really, really good follow-up to Panic Blooms, and it definitely was worth the wait, in my opinion. So let's talk about the music itself. But before we do, guys, if you could please comment, subscribe, like this video, all that stuff helps out my channel a ton. If you don't like this video, that's totally fine as well. I don't know if any of you that are watching watched my last video. It wasn't super popular, but we'll follow up on that on a later video. But yeah, any amount of engagement helps me out, so thank you. All right, with that out of the way, let's get into the track list. So the album opens up with Open the Fucking Fantasy, which is a great way to start the album. You've got some like really filtered sort of like horn sounds. Pretty much everything that they do is all done analog, but like with synthesizers and drum machines and stuff like that. So there's a few points in this review where I'm going to talk about like certain sounds they're emulating, or certain like instruments they're like recreating through this method. But very rarely are they actually using those instruments. Like, it's all done still analog, but like the majority of it is done through synthesizers and drum machines and keys and stuff like that. But it starts off with these really cool like horn sounds, and then like just your traditional Black Moth Super Rainbow vocals. Tobacco, or Thomas Feck, who is the man behind all of this, always uses very heavy filters on his vocals. It's like instantly recognizable. If you're familiar with any of his work, you can hear a song come on and immediately know it's him. And this album is no different. There's a couple points where they're less filtered than others, but this opening song, they're definitely kind of just the classic BMSR vocals that you're have come to known. But yeah, this is a cool song. It's groovy, it's funky, it's trippy. It's very like spacey and psychedelic without being too alienating or off-putting. I think it's very approachable for like what they have done in their discography up until this point. It's just a chill, dreamy song, and a great way to open the album. After that is All Two of Us, and this kicks off with kind of their signature wailing synths and waterlogged percussion before getting into a really kind of like funky groove. The vocals here again are super, catchy, and they definitely make you want to sing along, even though you don't quite understand what they're saying because the filter is so heavy. They've got like this faux flute section throughout the majority of it that kind of comes in and out that works super well with like the more standard, like kind of like fuzzy synths that they are traditionally known for. It kind of pulls you into like this Technicolor dreamscape, and you're kind of just along for the ride. Again, it's a bit of a slower tempo song as well, as the majority of them on this album are. But again, if you like Black Moth Super Rainbow, you're definitely going to enjoy these first few tracks. And then there are some parts of the song where the vocals are a little bit less filtered, so it gives you some clarity through the haze, which is nice to, again, if you're not like a huge fan of this band, it can, I think, give you a little bit of a reprieve from like what they're really known for. After that is Taste Buds, and Taste Buds got like some soul and funk like right off the bat. The bass kind of like drives the whole thing forward. There's some genuine like pop moments of this song, especially in like the chorus and the verses. Just through like the melody, through the vocals, and even though they are kind of technically a pop band, a lot of their stuff is pretty far from what you would consider like, you know, modern pop music. And so it's interesting to see them use some of those like songwriting techniques and melodic styles on this song. It is kind of intertwined with some really chaotic synth leads as well that definitely remind you at the end of the day that this is a psych band. After that is Demon's Glue, and this is an interesting one. So they slow it like way down on this one for the majority of the melody, but when the drums or percussion kick in, because it's not actual drums, when the percussion kicks in, it's very chaotic and fast paced compared like up against like the bass and the synth. The bass here is very pointed. It's got a like 80s sort of like R&B vibe going for it. And yeah, absolutely love this song. It's just a killer track. The vocals here again are super melodic, and they just like kind of take you through the journey that is this song. It's just a really chill vibe like all the way throughout. After that is the Dripping Royalty, which has a pretty standard like Black Moth Super Rainbow feel at the beginning, with some like jazz, hip hop, percussion instrumentals, layered with some more like compressed bass and synths, and it's very kind of like standard BMSR fare. But then it does kick into a really fun chorus, and yeah, I think this is a good kind of like, you know, bridge between the first half and the second half of the album. And as much as I've enjoyed the first half up until this point, I do think the second half is a little bit stronger, just as far as some of the variety and like tempo changes that we get on a couple of the next songs, including Brain Waster. Now, this is probably one of my favorite songs on the album. It starts off with these angelic choir vocals over a bouncy kind of synth lead before it does settle into one of the grooviest songs on the album. The lyrics and vocals here, despite still being fairly filtered, a little bit more clean, a little bit more driven, and definitely kind of like pull you into the rest of the song. The drums kind of go back and forth between, you know, being more melodic and following along with the rhythm of the track, and then a little bit chaotic and off tempo at parts that kind of keep you really engaged. And then there's just this super clean bass line that's going through the whole song, just driving it forward and keeping it grounded. And yeah, I absolutely love this song. It's one of my favorite I think they've ever written. And that leads into The Eyes in Season, which is probably a top 5 song for me that they have ever written. I absolutely love this one as well. It's a little bit of a up tempo, so a little bit of a quicker song. It's got a pretty standard like lo-fi background, and yeah, the vocal melodies here are about as like straightforward a pop song as they've ever written. And I think it's absolutely incredible. Like, I would love to hear a whole album of theirs of songs like this that are, you know, I don't know if necessarily like written or catered more towards like a mainstream audience, but still having their signature feel. And yeah, I think it just works super well. Don't get me wrong, I love all of the really like kind of trippy, psychedelic, off-putting stuff that they're known for, but hearing them do like a more just straightforward pop song, which is something I haven't heard from them in a few years, was really, really cool. After that is Unknown Potion, and this is the one more than any other song on this album that reminds me the most of Panic Blooms. It's pretty standard, just like Black Moth Super Rainbow low tempo fare with like these dripping syrupy synths and very like heavily filtered percussion. And yeah, it feels like very calming and chaotic at the same time, like you're traversing an ocean in space, but yet is still like a very comforting song and reminds you that everything's going to be okay. And like anytime you're listening to a Black Moth Super Rainbow album, I mean, you're along for the ride. Like they're taking you somewhere. And I do feel like on this album, more so than the last, most of the places they're taking you to are a fairly positive experience. Not that Panic Blooms wasn't positive, but it's called Panic Blooms for a reason. There is definitely some dread and chaos thrown throughout that album. After that is another one of my favorite songs, We Spot Dare. This picks up the tempo a little bit more. We've got some more like 80s sort of bass lines thrown throughout, some really industrial sounding like hi-hats for the percussion. The synth leads are spacey and crunchy and chaotic and all over the place, everything you've come to expect. Yeah, and there's not much variation as far as the synth tones go on this album, but that's pretty par for the course when it comes to Black Moth Super Rainbow. But yeah, I love this one a lot. Again, the vocals here, the melody, super catchy, super groovy, super easy to like kind of get into a vibe with. And yeah, just another absolutely killer song. And then we end with Sea of Hair, which is a pretty calming like final track. You get some more kind of dreamy, spacey synths over some more compressed and kind of filtered down drums. And then the vocals here again are pretty just standard. It's not a bad closing song. I actually do really enjoy it. I just at this point wish that we got something a little bit more upbeat or like up tempo to kind of go out on a bang. I am happy for those moments that we have gotten on this album up until this point. So overall, I do think this is a really strong album. You know, their last three have all been really good. I would probably put this over Panic Blooms, but just slightly behind Cobra Juicy. But yeah, it's a good album, especially if you're a fan of this band. A lot of highs on it, not too many lows. If you are not a fan of Black Moth Super Rainbow, you're probably not going to like it, because this, outside of a couple like slightly more approachable moments, like this is pretty standard, like fare for them. And at this point, you either like them or you don't. But if you do like them, you're not going to be disappointed. So as a fan, I'm going to give this an A minus. I think it's just as high quality as all of their other outputs. And yeah, I think that, you know, a couple small nitpicky things here and there and some things I was wishing to hear on the album is bringing it down a little bit, but still an A quality album. So go check it out if you haven't. If you have, let me know what you think down in the comments. And as always, I will talk to y'all later. Peace.